If you had told me, Alev, you're going to make the Olympic team in 3 years after first touching a rugby ball, I would have thought you're a complete lunatic. I'm a competitive person. I think growing up as a twin made me that way. We were competing out of the womb. I lost, and she'll forever remind me of being a minute slower, but her tenacity to always be pushing against me brought us up together to the top. Life's all about taking risks and being vulnerable, and I would have thought you're crazy, but it's been a hell of a ride. Life growing up in Alaska is amazing. I mean, we have the biggest playground you can imagine, with the mountains and, the winter season, and snow everywhere, and in the summertime, the sun never sets, and you can play volleyball at midnight, you go hiking, you started at 11:30 and come home, and still be light outside. It was unbelievable to grow up here.
Growing up with Alev was, in a word, it was amazing. It was so much fun. She's a ball of energy. She loves to go and be with people and do every event that you could possibly imagine.
Lots of inquisitive, lots of desire to do everything. Wanted to experience everything. They said, when I was pregnant and I was carrying both of them, they said, you need to watch out for baby B. And she was baby B. And I said, why is that? Why do I have to watch out for baby B? And they said, because baby B never stops moving.
Sports came naturally to me, but school I had to work really hard at. The teachers here showed me how it's not just one way to learn. And I found a passion in the arts, and I found a passion in not just sports, but also school.
I think when she got into freshman year, she was just known as the sports person. So kind of opening her eyes to her creative side and encouraging even her artistic ability. I mean, now she has an art degree. You wouldn't have thought that initially. She probably was on the way to, just college sports or even professional sports, and not really the idea of, hey, I'm gonna get an art degree. She really started to embrace her creative side and explore that and realize that that was an instrumental part of who she is.
This is the ceramics studio. Aside from sports, these were my favorite classes, and I found my passion for the arts here, doing some drawing and sculpture and ceramics, and it ended up being the start of my creativity that it led me to doing my Bachelor of Fine Arts in college. Growing up, I played a lot of different sports: soccer, basketball, ice hockey. We swam, were on the tennis team, but the main ones I focused on as I grew up were mostly ice hockey and soccer. Doing both hockey and soccer was important to me because it was two of my favorite things to do. I was extremely passionate about that and wanted to pursue it, and I thought it was a challenge, and I had the dream of playing both in the Olympics, so I wanted to play at the highest level I could. My soccer career started when I was 4 years old, and when I was 14, I was the first Alaskan to make the Olympic development program, and went on to play with the U17 youth national team, and then ended up getting called up to Carson, California for the U22 camp. Got called up a couple times with them, and then they had asked for me to just pick either hockey or soccer, and my passion was both. And so I continued to pursue both, and unfortunately never got a call back from them. This is the Harry J. McDonald Memorial Center, where I grew up playing hockey from ages 8 to 18, also known as the MAC Center. I was really fortunate to play at a high level, so it started off playing boys hockey in high school, and then playing boys hockey in club level, and then extremely blessed to make the U18 International World Championship team as a 17-year-old, and then was able to captain that same team the next year. To win both golds back-to-back was amazing. Then went on to play with the full national team. Didn't make residency, and I fell short just a bit before the Olympics in Sochi in 2014. It was really hard to miss out on that Olympic dream for hockey, and I think that there was a lot of pressure from captaining the U18 team to everyone that has helped me get to where I was at that point. I felt like I had let them down, and for me, I needed to go back home. I needed to see the mountains. I needed to, get rejuvenated by the beauty and truth that lies in Alaska, and kind of like my childhood and my successes that built me to, the Alev Kelter that's trying out for the Olympic team. Like, what an honor, you know? So I came back home, and I was snowboarding at Alaskan, and that's kind of when I had that epiphany that, you know, you've had a lot of firsts in your life. You've been a trailblazer, you know, for most of your life, and this no wasn't gonna define me. And that kind of picked me back up, saying, like, there'll be times where I will fall, and even though this one hurt a lot, that I was gonna get back up for it, and I was gonna snowboard that mountain with abandon and just hit every jump and not care, and that's kind of how I got through it, was putting on the boots and the bindings and just flying down a mountain and forgetting the past. I first got into rugby when Lori Clifford gave my number to Rick Suggett, the head coach of the Eagles at the time. And he gave me a phone call and asked if I would come out to a training camp. I called him back. I told him I had no experience playing rugby. And his response was, "We have plenty of balls here. I'll see you in 2 weeks." Deep down, I had this feeling in my gut that Rick saw something. He was a former hockey player. He knew kind of my mentality, that it's kind of, you know, rough playing with the boys, putting a shoulder in someone's very similar to wrapping and rolling and maybe in a tackle. And so again, just taking those risks and just putting myself out there was something that I had been known for, and wasn't afraid to try it one more time.
When the concept was proposed that she might be able to go try out for a national rugby team, while it came out of left field, it was something that we would never have expected. When we heard it and thought about it, it made perfect sense. It seemed like a great fit of all the things that she had done, bringing those things together.
So the first time I went down was in January 2014. The first time I ever touched a rugby ball. Ran around for 5 days, ended up scrimmaging Canada, scored a couple tries. I fell in love with it. After those 5 days, I had a meeting with Rick, and Rick said, "I want to contract you." I said, "Well, I've got to finish school first. I've always been a student before an athlete." He said, "I'll see you in March." So a couple months later, I was down at the training center full-time as a contracted rugby player.
Every parent struggles to see their child have heartbreak, you know, to captain a team and to be called to the national level and to make it to the festivals, and then to not really understand why ultimately you don't get to go to the dance. You say, when one door closes, another door opens. And when you say that to them, you hope and pray that those opportunities avail themselves. And sure enough, you know, one door closed and another door opened. And to be able to see her step onto the field under the flag of her country, racing out with her teammates, it's beyond any parent's dream.
Making it to Rio was a dream come true for me. It was unbelievable. I mean, the experience in itself was history. Just being a trailblazer and a pioneer for the sport, it was unbelievable. You couldn't have asked for a better thing to be a part of. Everything in my rugby career I've kind of done backwards. So I've, you know, joined late to the game. I started with, you know, 7s, which usually most people start with 15s and then they specialize. So I was kind of proficient in 7s, and they said, "Hey, we think you'd be an awesome back. You know, do you mind trying it?" And I said, "Absolutely. I mean, the more rugby I can play, the better I'll become. So what is it? Let's go into it." My first 15s match was in France, and it happened to be my first international cap as well as my first game ever. I felt a little bit insecure because I don't know all of the strategies and the game plans, but come World Cup in Ireland, all of that I'm really excited about.